Welcome, this is Carrie Schell from On Point Quilter. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and in honor of that, I decided that the tutorial this week is going to be on how to use just one block from the library and a standard layout to create a ribbon quilt. I'm going to start with a new project, and I'm going to label this Cancer Awareness Ribbon, and I will select OK. And I'm going to do a search for block patterns, which is going to take me to the block library. And I'm going to go to the foundation piece, and I'm going to scroll down and find the log cabins. Now there are lots of options, but the one I decided to work with is the 5 log cabin, because it's not that many logs, so it would be pretty simple to piece a bunch of these. So I'm going to select that, and I'm going to select Edit to Block Work Table. And I'm not going to actually make any changes, but I am going to do some different colorings. When I color, I decided, because this is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, I wanted to use pinks. And there are a few pinks in the standard collection, but not that many. So I'm going to open Library, which is going to take me now to the Fabric Library. And I'm going to start by going to the 15 rows, and I'm going to do a Select All Fabrics and select Add to Sketchbook. And then I'm going to scroll down and find the cool pinks, and I'm going to do a Select All Fabric and add those to the sketchbook as well, and close. So I have lots of now pinks to work with. I decided to use the paintbrush and use the rose fabrics to paint the upper left portion of this block. And then for the other side, I decided I would just take one of the lighter pinks, and I'm going to just use the spray can and color those. So this is going to be my first log cabin, and I'm going to add this to the project sketchbook. Now for the next one, I'm going to use the eyedropper and the paintbrush and do a third log on the other side. And I'm going to add this to the project sketchbook as well. Now for the fourth one, I will add the same pinks to the fourth side of the log cabin. Now you certainly could scrap out, and all 4 sides could be done with different fabrics. And so I'm going to add this to the project sketchbook. And my last variation is I'm going to just use my spray can, and I'm going to make these all the light fabric and add that. Now I'm ready to work on my quilt. And so I'm going to go to the home screen. I'm going to select Design a Quilt from Scratch. And I'm going to select a new quilt, horizontal. I'm going to go to the Layout tab, and I'm going to change the number of blocks to 3 horizontal and 6 vertical. Now we will deal with the size at a different point, but at this point go ahead and just leave them at 9 by 9. Then I'm going to go to the Border tab, and I'm going to delete the border. And now I can go to the Design tab. And my block is here. And I've got all the different variations, but they're all buried on top of each other. So what I'm going to do is I am going to click on the 3 dots, and I am going to select Split Coloring. This will split off the last coloring into a separate block, and I'm going to continue to repeat that until I have all my colorings split. Now it will be super simple to set the various colorations in the various blocks spaces in the quilt. So let's start with the half log cabin, and I'm going to put that in the first row in spaces 1 and 3, And then I'm going to go down to row 4 and put that in spaces 1 and 3 on that. And then I'm going to repeat for rows 5 and 6. Now for the fully colored pink log cabin, I'm going to put that in the left and the right of rows 2 and 3. The 3/4 log cabin is going to go in the top row, the 4th row, and the 5th row, and the all pink, light pink log cabin is going to go in the middle of rows 2, 3, and 6. Now I'm going to use rotate, and I am going to create my ribbon just by rotating these blocks. Now let's talk about size of these blocks. So let me just zoom in on one of the blocks. And what I like to do with log cabins is work with standard size strips. So let's assume that I wanted this to be 1 inch finished. So I will count the logs and then note that the center is equivalent to 2 logs. So essentially we have 10 equivalent spaces going across this particular block. So the ideal size for this block will be 10 by 10. So I could go to the layout now and change my block width and height to 10 inches. Now if I look, the size of my quilt is 30 by 60. So I am going to take this and add it to the project sketchbook. Now let's say we wanted a shorter ribbon or a shorter quilt. One of the other options is I'm going to go back to the layout tab. I'm going to reduce the vertical to 5 blocks, and I'm going to go back to the design tab, and now I'm going to go ahead and basically delete this row. Now I can't actually delete it, but I'm just going to take the blocks that are in the row below it, and I'm going to populate the row above. And then I'm just going to do some rotation on this. And now I have a quilt that is 30 by 50, and I can add that to the project sketchbook as well. Thanks so much for watching. If you would like to make this quilt, I will have the rotary cutting chart for the block available on my related blog post. And if you like these video tutorials, please subscribe to my weekly newsletter at www.onpointquilter.com.